Hi folks, today we're just going to address some questions that I've been getting asked in relation to operational procedures with the Spindle Moulder based off my other video of spindles and how to use them. One of the questions that I get asked fairly regularly is speeds and things like that. So for this particular machine, I have two of these and I have an EP Wadkin. So those three machines, along with one of the other spindles that I have, they're set up at roughly about 4,500 RPM. The reason why I have them set up at that is because we run slotted collar style cutters and I don't want them running too fast. So 4,500 is a pretty good all-round sort of speed. It runs the slotted collar stuff fine and it runs all of my heads and everything good as well. The only difference, if I upped it to 6,000 maybe, is I may get, or I would get, a slightly better finish in the mouldings with heads and things like that. But it's not a big enough difference that it makes me consider changing these. The BEM and the SCM T120C, they're both set up for 6,000 RPM because I only run heads on them, and you know they're not big heads, so 6,000 works for them for us, and it's a perfectly acceptable speed for them. So I think that pretty well covers that speed. As I said, the 4,500 on these is just a good general all round. Now, another question that I get asked is to do with springs and things like that. So we just make our own springs, or you know, some people call them featherboards, whatever you like. So when it comes to using these sort of things, we might either cramp them to the fences wherever we need them, or we might have them clamped to the table and clamped to the fences. But we generally only use things like that on a machine if I don't have a feed unit on it, or for whatever reason I can't use a feed unit on it. So we don't use springs that often these days because the main spindles that I'm using I have feed units on, and the other few that I don't have feed units on, what I'm doing on them, I don't really need to have springs on them. It's not a big issue. As far as general operational things go, when you're setting your fences up, you want to have the fence as close as you can get it to the cutting tool without it hitting, obviously. But if you look at the edge of a jointer, like where the knife passes over the jointer table, you've only got a very, very fine gap there. So try and get it as close as you can. So, you know, maybe, you know, anything from a couple of mil up to maybe 5 or 6 mil between your cutting edge and your fence. The way I've got this particular machine set up, this fence is wearing out here, and I can't, depending on what cutters I've got in there, I can't always get that up close enough for my liking, and I really should adjust it, but it's not really that big a deal. But what it does is, the further you've got, the more clearance you've got between the edge of the leading edge of your fence and your cutting tool, you just risk breakout. That's all. It's not a safety issue. It's just a quality of job issue. So the closer you can get your fences to your cutting edge without it being risky of impact, the better the finished product will be that you're actually machining. So just getting back to the maximum speed and that you should be running your machinery on. A lot of, like if you're using solid blocks like heads, a lot of them will have your maximum speeds written on it. Now hopefully, if I can hold it right, you can see this one here says maximum 4,500. Now this is a 190 or just shy of 8-inch diameter head, and it's pretty heavy. So its maximum speed is 4,500. So you'll find I just went to look at one of my other heads and it didn't actually have the maximum speed on it, but most of the heads should have your speed on it. So just check them. Like this one's on the underside. Most of the time they're on the top side, but just look around and see what it says. Here's an even better example. So it's a 160 by 50 and its maximum speed is 9,000. So it's, this one's 30 mils, so 1.25 inches smaller than the other head, but its maximum speed is twice the rate. Now this head is an aluminium head, it's a lot lighter, and that would be why its speed, and because it's a little bit smaller in diameter, but it would mostly be the weight as to why it's able to go so much faster. So we're just going to have a look at the BEM here, and I'm pretending that I'm getting ready to set the machine up. So I've dropped my block in. I've just, for sake of the exercise, I've just got a rabbiting block in there, so a 150 diameter head by 50 mil high. And what I'm going to be looking to do with this particular one is I want to take a rabbet out of the piece of timber. What am I going to do? I'm going to do 25 mil high, and I'm going to make it 13 mils deep. So I'm going to make it 1 inch high, 1/2 inch deep. So how I set them up, I've put my block in. Usually I wouldn't have my fences up, but this machine's already set up, so we're just going to ignore that just for the moment. So I set my block in. With a head, you don't need to tighten them up super tight, just literally just pinch it. Now I'm going to measure off the table to my height, and that cutter's got a break out of that. So I'm just going to measure, set my height to 25 mil there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, because I'm setting up and breaking down spindles here all the time, I've generally got little bits of timber floating around that I use just as a reference to do the initial setup. So I'm going to grab myself a piece of timber that I would use normally to set up, and I keep one over here on one of my other machines. It's just a bit of 20 by 13, and I use that to set the depth of my fence. So the 13 mil, I'm just using that to set the depth. Once I've got the lead-in fence set, I then partner that up. I have a bit of aluminium channel that I know is dead straight, and I'll pair that one up to it so they're nice and in line. And then once I've set my fences to the desired clearance between the knife edge and the edges of the fences here, then I'll run myself a test piece and check the size. If it's not quite right, then I'll fiddle around with it to get it right. But generally speaking, most of the time it's pretty close because I've used a reference to set it up to. You don't need to overcomplicate things. Like, you know, keep things pretty simple. It doesn't matter whether you're just doing a square rabbet like that or if you're running a complex mould. You still, like, I still go about things the same way. Like, if I'm doing a complex mould, I might grab the piece of timber that I'm about to mould, and I'll use that as my reference, and I'll look at how the cutters are going to interact with that piece of timber, and if I think it's okay, then I'll just grab a sample piece of timber and I'll do a quick test piece and have a look at it and see how it looks. And if it's all good, then I'll finish the setup, if I hadn't already, and start running the material. So to set the machines is fairly straightforward. It takes a bit of understanding and a bit of knowing what you're doing, sure, but you don't have to overcomplicate it. Setting up your feed unit is another thing that you don't need to overcomplicate. All you need to do when you're setting your feed unit up is you want to have, depending on the machine, but you know, anything from 1/8 to, or 3 mil, 4 mil, something like that, of overlap past the height of your timber from your table to the underside of your wheels, so that you've got enough pressure. You don't want too much pressure. The more pressure you have down on it, the more likely you are to have feed problems. So what you need is just enough pressure that it'll feed the timber through and it won't chatter and bounce around. So just enough pressure for that to happen. For this particular machine, it could be anything from 3 to 5 mil, depending on the material that I'm putting through. If you're running it flat like this, you need to have tail in. So this end here of the machine, so I'm feeding my timber in from this way. This end of the machine needs to be closer to my fence than this part of the machine, so that when your timber's running through, it's actually pulling it in towards your fence. If you've got it slightly out the other way, it's going to drift your timber away from the fence and your mould won't come out right. So you need to tail it in just a bit. You don't want to overdo it. If you overdo it, you're just going to wear your wheels out a lot quicker than you should be. So tailing in just enough so that it keeps the material in against the fence. Again, it varies on what you're doing. If I'm running quite fine stock, then the tail in is not very much at all, because I don't have enough room there to be able to get tail in. If I'm running something a bit bigger and it's a bit more how you're going as far as the size of the mould and that sort of stuff, I might have a little bit more tail in. But generally speaking, it's always raking in enough that it's holding the timber perfectly against the fence all the time, and it's not drifting off at all. I'll move over to the other machine and show a different setup. So this one here is set up vertically because I'm running door jamb and things like that through this one, so it's set up vertically. So with this one, it has a slight tail down, so this clearance here on this end is slightly less than the clearance on the feed in side, because I'm wanting it to hold my material down. The clearance off here is similar concept to when you've got it horizontal to the clearance off your bed. So again, it's just enough to keep a nice feed going through without any wobble and chatter and things like that, and when the timber starts to get a bit cranky, it doesn't want to stop feeding. So it wants to be enough that it's going to be a constant feed, but you don't want it too much so that it's putting a lot of pressure on the machine, and because the wheels are spring loaded, so you'll see you don't want them pushing right in when the timber's coming past. It wants to be just enough that you get a nice constant feed with no wobble and shake in your material. So I mentioned before about keeping it simple. Now, I've seen videos of people setting up their spindle moulders and they're using vernier calipers and all of this sort of stuff. That's all good and well, and there's no problem with doing that. If that's how you feel comfortable doing it, then sure, by all means do it that way. I just use a rule and a piece of timber and my piece of aluminium for setting my fences. As I said before, it doesn't need to be complicated. You just need to use this a bit, make sure everything that you're doing on it is safe and it's not going to hurt you in any way. If you're using the aluminium, what do you call them? I'll go and get one. If you're using these type of heads, they're a great thing. They're very versatile. That type of thing with the limiting cutters, that's what I couldn't think of. If you're using that type of head, make sure the grub screws in here that hold the cutters in place, make sure that you check them every single time that you set the cutter up in the machine. Make sure that you check that those grub screws are done up tight. I've found on numerous occasions when I've put these in and I've gone to set them up, at least one of the grub screws is loose. They tend to work themselves loose with the vibrations of use. Probably not as big an issue on softer timbers, but if you're doing any kind of hardwood or anything and you're getting a bit of chatter and vibration and whatnot from your machining, just make sure that you check them. As I said, like I've been using these for probably the best part of about 15 years, and over that time it's happened so many times that I make sure that I check them regularly now whenever I set them up. So just a good tip for you. So I'll finish that up now because the video is going to drag on for a bit too long. If there's anything that I've missed, and I'm sure there would be because there's multiple things that I've missed. Someone asked me a question the other day. I just can't think of it right now, but my response to them was it can be very machine specific, and there's things that I tend to not show because that's the exact reason why, because the machine that you're using may be very different to this machine, and what I show you on this doesn't apply to that. Not in operational sense, but just in setups and things like that. Like for argument's sake, like my BEM and my SCM are both very similar machines. The setup and everything on them is almost identical. The two EQs are on their own in their setup, like how you adjust belts and things like that, they're on their own. And then the EP and my other Australian made spindle, they're pretty similar in how you change things about on them. But so to show you how to adjust belts and things like that on this machine may not be relevant to your machine, and that's generally why I don't show it. But if you have specific questions that I haven't tackled in any of my videos, please just drop it in the comments. I'll definitely answer you because I answer every comment there. And I'll work about going about trying to, if it needs to be a video, then I'll do it that way, but otherwise if I can answer it in the comments, then I'll do it that way. But anyway, so hopefully you've got something out of this, and yeah, thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm trying to grow the channel up a bit, so yeah, if you wouldn't mind subscribing. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.